Hello and welcome to Pause It For Me, a podcast where we talk about movies and filmmaking. And this is Hannah Brannon. I'm here with my lovely husband, Andrew Brannon. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. We got a guest with us today, and thank you so much for doing that intro. You really knocked it out of the park.
Oh, thanks so much.
You want to intro our guest for us?
You can go ahead. You probably have a better preamble of all the lovely things he's done. So
probably. I mean, he's just sitting here silent while we debate what to do, and I don't want to make him feel too uncomfortable. So let's just jump right into it. Vincent Valentino, thank you so much for joining us here today, the host of Ottawa Kino Film Festival. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, go ahead there.
That was good. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me. It's a good way to spend a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I hope so.
I know you guys are friendly. You gave me coffee. It's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And the big hug mug.
And the big hug mug.
Consider it a metaphysical big hug from us.
Yeah. Aw, guys. Love you. I'm sleeping here tonight, right?
Yeah.
We got the space.
Yeah, nice.
I mean, our second podcast interview subject of the day canceled. So if you want to just do like a 12-hour episode, we got the time, you know.
Canceled.
Yeah. Postponed.
Yes,
postponed.
Yeah.
So you host Ottawa Kino. For the audience who may or may not know about it, can you tell them a little bit about what Kino is and maybe the history behind it and how you got involved?
Oh, that's interesting. So I first started doing a lot of like regular festivals in Ottawa. Like there was a Shits and Giggles, which is a comedy festival. Then there was a Monster Pool, which is a horror festival. There was a Animal Crackers, which is a pet festival. I just want people
Crackers.
Yeah. I just want people to get together and feel good about themselves and feel like movie stars for a night. So then my friend started like a Kino thing. This is a monthly thing. It's a thing that's been going around in the world for about 25 years. Some people say it started in Montreal, others France. They can fight it out. I don't care. What's important is that it's a regular thing once a month and people can come out and participate. They're not all the same, but they're in like a lot of cities. The way I like to do it is we have a theme. We record a theme reveal, which is a little funny video saying what the month's theme is, and it's a lot of fun. People get to participate in the theme reveal and feel good and be silly. And then people have a month to make a film based on a theme or not. The theme is just a suggestion, a platform to bounce ideas off of. You don't have to adhere to the theme, but you could just have fun with it. Just make a film. We encourage people to make a film and screen it. And on top of that, we invite people on stage to talk about their film and ask questions, Q&A and things like that, and the audience feedback and everything. It's really interactive and engaging. And it's quite emotional. It's created a platform where people can be vulnerable and tell stories close to them, their heart and stuff. And we've had a lot of people share emotional parts of themselves and moments on stage. Very grateful for that. It starts conversations, and it goes beyond just a film at this point. It's a community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. That's what we liked getting involved with it, is it gives you this little deadline where it's like, normally as a creative you want to make something but you feel like something's not good enough, and then you just kind of put it off, whereas with Kino it's like, oh, I have to get the film in a certain amount of time, so you can't faff around with it. You're like, okay, I want to show it this time, I have to get it out. So it really encourages people to constantly be creating.
Absolutely.
Gives you a little kick in the butt.
Yeah, sometimes people get preoccupied and obsessed with pre-production, and it's not, you get like disillusioned by it. It doesn't necessarily turn out the way you want. Filmmaking is problem solving. I mean, just go there and make something, even if it's 30 seconds. You're making something, you're stretching that muscle, you're being consistent. I mean, for example, when you write, you sit down to write, you don't pre-plan to write. Writing in itself is the act of improvisation. And I'm not saying all films should be that way, but it's just an element of trusting yourself on the spot. Just seeing what happens with flow and how you connect with the art form, the medium, and other people on set. Just do something.
Absolutely. I think there's something to be said for making mistakes and learning from the mistakes as well. Like we were talking to Colin Zeraldo and Ben Bergeron, and they've done one film every month. And they said, looking back on their first couple, they're like, oh, we've learned so many lessons. This is so much worse. You know, we're just constantly improving. And so that's been a really nice thing for them to be able to showcase their films every month and to learn so much about film.
But here's the thing is we keep on learning.
Yeah.
We never stop learning. You know, it's not that we're owning our mistakes, is that honestly, we have no idea what we're doing. Why are we so full of ourselves and speak with an air of authority when it's just like, calm down, you're not creating Rembrandts. Like, go back in line, sit in the corner like the rest of us. Like, geez.
Absolutely.
Well, it's a really worthwhile thing to do, in my opinion, because there's a very low barrier to entry. And it's so worth it to show your film to an audience and then get to talk about it. Because, you know, when I would put certain projects up on like YouTube, like little shorts that I had worked really hard on, there's like no audience feedback. People don't comment, you know, like you'll see a video that has like 100,000 views and it'll have like maybe 100 comments, like
if that,
people don't comment. And so it was really nice for us to be able to hear an audience like clap for our films or laugh or not laugh
and talk about it afterwards, because it's also a networking event, and a lot of people connect with other actors and filmmakers and they collaborate. So it's like people show up at Kino, they show their film, all of a sudden they have like a lot of friends and they're doing something the following month all together. It opens doors. It's a networking, it's a social.
So we were talking to Ben Bergeron yesterday about how he was involved from the beginning, but from what I understand, you were a little more instrumental in bringing it back after COVID, after the pandemic started to break. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Ben was one of the original founders. I think we had a good 4-month run. Ben would bring all his gear, would set up at Beyond the Pale and then the Poor Boy and stuff. And he'd bring like a lot. He did so much for it, right? And then it just, I don't know, it just kind of faded away. And I'm like, hey, Ben. Hey, you know, Trin was another founding member, and I'm like, hey, you mind if I just start doing this again? They're like, sure, thank you.
Nice. So what makes it worth it to you to get up on stage each month, screen these films, and interview the filmmakers? Because it always seems very selfless on your end. Yeah,
well, I do like the sound of my own voice. No, it's very simple. I mean, I've made a lot of short films, and it's the same reason I make short films. I'm lonely. That's all it is. I'm lonely. I like connecting with people. It's not my medium of choice when it comes to expressing myself creatively. That lies in writing. I think the written word, you can go deeper. You can explore inner dialogue, inner monologue, ideas, concepts. Where filmmaking, although it's it encompasses all sorts of art forms, it's still very limited in how deep you can go with it. So for me, the written word is where my true artistic ego lies. But filmmaking, it doesn't mean I half-ass it. It means it's a different satisfaction. I connect with human beings emotionally and tell stories and start conversations. And I just feel less lonely because there's comfort in the company of other people. I love connecting creatively with people. And it's not just about the storytelling. It's having these vulnerable moments together. It's like, we're going to do something about your daughter just died. Let's tap into that. Let's cry together. People cry on stage at Kino.
Yes, they definitely do.
It's beautiful, beautiful. So grateful for everyone in the community.
Yeah. So when you write, what kind of, like, in your preferred method of writing, what medium are you writing for? Like novel or like spoken word or scripts or?
I've been writing for a long time, and I recently got back into it. And I started with a children's book. Well, it meant to be read with by the parent, right? So there's a lot of depth in the book, and it's going to be a series. And now, just last week, I started writing a little novella. Nice. And it feels good. You know, you get that high when you think about it when you get up and you go to bed at night and you're like, yeah, that's it. And I feel satisfied. I get the high now. Yeah, it's just stuff like that. I have no follow through. I have very little follow through. So I'm going to try to learn after the thing is done. Like you said, you make a film and you drop it on YouTube and then like, what's next? Sure, that's great. But I'm trying to like, what do I do with this after it's done? You know, and I want it to get out there. I want the brand.
For sure. Maybe you need to do a Kino for the written word.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it forces you to make something every month.
Follow through is something that I definitely struggle with. And with Coffee to Cocktails, what was instrumental in the follow through of that was not telling anyone about it until the gears were already turning. Like, I wrote the script for it, and as I was writing it, I not tell her what I was writing. No. I didn't even really say, "Hey, I'm writing something."
Absolutely, and you got to protect it. And I'll tell you what this means. You got to create and maintain positive associations with the things you love.
Yeah,
there's
definitely.
a lot of, although people mean well, and we say listen to feedback, yes, but to some degree, I mean, you talk to a lot of people, and they like your story, but essentially they want to write it the way they want to say it and tell it. Yeah. And that's when it gets a little murky because they're like, no, it's not good. It should be this way. Well, it's good the way it is. It's not the way you would want to tell it. And you got to separate that from constructive feedback. And that's difficult. And it could be discouraging, as you said.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love this quote from Bill Hader that I heard about him, I think writing Barry, where he said that when you show somebody your script or your story and you're looking for feedback, if they tell you that something isn't working about it, chances are they're right. But if they say, and you know what I would do? I would do it like this. Chances are they're probably wrong.
Yeah.
So at that point, you need to be like, I appreciate your feedback about this not working. Now I'm going to go somewhere else by myself and fix it.
Absolutely. Like I'm writing, starting my little novella right now. I have no idea what I'm doing, but my girlfriend's going to, read one chapter at a time. My chapters are small. Whatever, Mel. And I'm kidding. They're really small.
Nice and digestible.
Yeah. And I'm putting. She's helping me gain some perspective and stuff like that. And what I'm looking for feedback is not like how would you do it. It's what is unclear.
Yeah.
What is kind of like that kind of is a little jarring. Things like emotional responses to the feedback is great. Is what I look for.
Yeah, definitely. So, what keeps you busy these days in and around Kino and in and around writing? Do you do how often do you do filmmaking? I would say because you make the theme reveals every month.
Those are fun. Yeah.
And sometimes you submit other stuff to Kino.
And I help a lot of people and my friends to make films and stuff, and just part of being on set and
that's really important
and
too.
having fun. Yeah, I'm at a lot. I mean, I think I'm at I'm approaching 620 short films right now.
Wow,
and I was
amazing.
I know. I didn't say they were good. I'm just saying low standards. I was
gonna have that 10,000 hours.
Yeah,
10,000 hours. Yeah, that's right. When you become a pro, that's what they say. I was gonna do my 5th feature. And I started writing it, and I don't know. It's very long for a little payoff. I mean, I know there's no money or fame or in short films. It's just like a calling card and stuff like that, right? It's like proof of concept. But I wanted to do a really good 5th short film, feature film, and then I started writing it, and I started developing contempt for the act of script writing. It's very limiting. Script writing is essentially, as it should be, conveying as much information in fewer words possible.
Absolutely.
In a nutshell.
It's more
right?
of a visual
medium.
medium.
But I felt like very limited because I wanted to explore the characters deeper in their inner thoughts and their dialogue. And as I was writing the screenplay, I was like, this energy should be wasted on a novel then. Because it's so many beautiful things. I felt like so constricted. So I'm just going to write it in a novel form instead. And what's the script? Here's the book. Shut up, Vince. But I don't know if I want to do the feature. It's a lot of work, and it's not that it's a lot of work. It's that you're committed to something for a long time, and I want to move on to tell stories right away, different stories. And that's what's beautiful about the short film form. Is you can tell beautiful stories in abstract form because you can break all the rules in short films. It can be a music video, it could be artsy-fartsy abstract. Whereas feature film, you're asking the viewer to invest an hour and a half, so you have to adhere to some sort of structure and payoff system and arc. And where short film, you can just, let's be honest, artistic masturbation all the way, and it's fine. And you could move someone. People who don't like short films are like, well, you can't properly tell a story or move someone to tears. Yes and no. They've been 30-second commercials that have moved people to tears.
Definitely.
So
Myself
it's you're the one limited by the storytelling. You're the one. The art form is capable of that. Definitely. Sometimes 10 minutes you can understand a character deeply and profoundly in 10 minutes, and that's a lot. Yeah, depending how just trust yourself, and maybe filmmaking is not for you then if you think that.
Possibly. Yeah, I'm a big fan of animation and animated TV shows, and I think Steven Universe is a great example of a show that has 10-minute episodes that can tell a full succinct story in that 10 minutes that moves me almost to tears, like every other episode.
Yeah.
They do a really good job of that. So I want to dig a little deeper into this because you obviously have your hands deep into the short film community in Ottawa and the filmmaking community. How did you fall into that? And you seem to have like some contempt for it in a way, but you're still swimming around in it. So I want to
that's a good question. That's a good. I started when photography cameras became accessible. Everyone was a photographer, and then I went on a website called a platform called Flickr, and there's groups there, and I started a community there called Ottawa Filmmakers, and we would meet every month. There'd be like 40, 60 of us. We'd go on a photo walk, then we'd go to a pub and drink and get to know each other. It was an amazing, exploding community, and I met a lot of friends there. Met a woman I dated for 10 years there too. There was a lot of interesting things, people in my life, and so grateful for it. But then the novelty kind of faded, and people. And I realized, I knew it was going to happen. And I'm like, well, I think people are moving on to something else now. Like, I think I wanted to move on to something else. I wanted to move on to this moving picture idea. So I came to Facebook. Facebook, I know it's for old people, but it's got communities and groups and other platforms. Yeah, other platforms don't necessarily have that. So I looked at the film community in Ottawa, and it was very, I don't know, there's a lot of gatekeeping.
Yeah,
there's
definitely.
a lot. There was a couple few people and a festival or 2 festivals, and they were just like, you have no business here, you know. And I understand where they're coming from. To be fair, you know, being the devil's advocate, a lot of back then people paid for their trade. They spent a lot of time and study and learning and money to go to school and learn how to make film. And we suffered on celluloid and blah. And now like Joe Schmo comes in with like a little camera, and all of a sudden he's a filmmaker. That contempt I totally understand. But it doesn't mean people aren't allowed to express themselves creatively, and that the times are changing, and and they were holding on to that gate, and it's like, you have no business being here, and I'm like,
they're just jealous.
Maybe
that they just spend thousands of dollars to learn, and people can just do it on their phones.
It's easy now, and now the whole thing is coming back with AI, but that's for another conversation.
Yeah,
but I understand that completely, and it just allows us to do that. So I said, you know, you guys suck. I'm going to start my own group. We're going to be cooler and better. Nah, it wasn't like that. Like
with blackjack and hookers.
That's right, blackjack and hookers. Yeah, I want all of us to get along. I don't believe in separating us. I just want to say, you know, it's okay. I totally understand and respect that. I'm just going to get a couple guys together or people together and see if they want to start a little thing on the side and for fun. And I opened a couple groups on Facebook, and after a while, everyone was like, "Hey, okay," and then you know. You win the love of a population after a while, and it's funny because a lot of these older generation, they kind of got discouraged and they stopped doing it. They're not doing the films anymore, and they're slowly coming back into this new community. And I don't want to say with their tail between their legs, but they're always welcome. Everyone is welcome, but you know. I understand where they're coming from initially. Like every community has this type of gatekeeping, and I don't know if that is the word, but that's how it comes across.
Definitely. Because, in the creative space, there's a lot of gatekeeping.
Yeah, because familiarity breeds contempt. And that's very important to understand. Like we would be like that too. We have to have patience with new people coming in because we were there at one point. And again, Kino, at one point people were thinking it's a dumping ground for all sorts of crappy films, and now we're trying to have a sense of not accountability, but like of quality control and
a little
like,
bit of curation.
Yeah, curation. And we're like, well, maybe it's not there yet, but let's talk on how we could get it there because we have a responsibility to the audience as well.
Sure. So. There's a really interesting blend at Kino. So you have maybe some of the younger crowd that are, you know, maybe they do some sort of filmmaking creative job as their day jobs, and then they're making it on the side, and maybe there's a hope that there is a career ahead of them professionally making creative narrative films. Yeah. And then you have the other half where, you know, they have their day jobs and it's more just like a passion project to make films on the side. And there's not really necessarily a trajectory that they see ahead of them. And I find that really interesting, the melting pot where you have sort of the creative one-offs where it's like, it doesn't need to go anywhere. It can be silly. It can be out there because they're not necessarily thinking it as like a springing board to their career.
Yeah, a lot of people are ambitious, and that's okay. It's a tough city to be ambitious. I mean, the best we can hope for is to feel like a big fish in a small pond. And it's a launching pad for like the industry here is different than other cities.
Definitely. In a way, it can be really nice because you can get to know a lot of the people in the community, whereas in Toronto, it's a lot bigger pond, you know? And so with Ottawa, it's kind of nice to just know the certain crowd and to get to interact with everyone. And
it's very true. I mean, I got a lot of people from communities in Montreal, Vancouver, and Toronto, and they reach out and they said, I see the stuff you're doing. How do we get this community in our city? And I'm like, well, you don't. You know, it's the industry is very different. It's people go there and they're like from Ottawa. They're like, well, I'm talented and I'm beautiful and I'm great on camera and I'm the best. Yeah, but so is everyone else. Why should we choose you? Can you get back in line, sir? Thank you. Keep quiet, you know?
A lot of ego.
Everyone is talented. That's what we forget.
For sure.
It has been a great community in my experience, you know, and I highly recommend people submit to Kino if you haven't before, because it's very gratifying not only to just be able to show it and to have an audience reaction, but then, you know, you get to the break or afterwards and people come up to you and they're like, hey, I really liked that. Let's have a little conversation about what you're doing and what I'm doing, and maybe we can do something together. And, that's how I've met some people to bring onto the podcast. And, I've never regretted going to a Kino.
Oh, that's awesome. And there's so many new people coming in all the time. And another thing is once a month we have socials. And, so Kino's at the end of the month and the socials in the middle of the month. And what the socials allow is just a space where people can go and socialize and drink and eat. Because a lot of people don't want to feel like a captive audience at Kino. Even though Kino, we make it short. We screen 5 films, conversation on stage, break, another 5 films. So you don't feel like you're stuck in your chair for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And that's very important because it is a networking event as well. But sometimes people don't want to sit in the chair and watch a film. So that's why we have the socials once a month where people can just walk around at their own pace.
Great way to find a new crew for your latest short film as well.
And different people show up to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, of course, we bounce around in our podcast between talking about films and talking to filmmakers. So I want to go to the about films side of the coin for a minute. So can you tell me 3 films that describe your taste in movies? Because I think that it always gives a nice rounded out image of the people that we have on the podcast. And
what they tend to like a lot about someone.
Ooh, that's a tough question. I can tell you maybe my top 20, and that top 20 always changes.
Yeah. Sometimes your top 3 is different than maybe your top 3 that you would recommend people. More like the 3 that represents your taste in film.
Yeah, because like when we first started, I was like, these aren't my top 3 favorite movies, but I wanted a movie that represented like irreverent comedy, so Napoleon Dynamite, a movie that represented animation, because I love animation, and I think I said either Spirited Away or Toy Story.
Yeah, probably.
And then a movie that represented a movie that has a lot of heart, which I always love in movies. So I think I said Rocky.
Rocky is a surprisingly amazing movie. People associate Rocky with it's a bit silly, but 3 and 4, come on. Like,
sure,
it's a totally different genre, and they're wonderful for what they are. But I challenge people to go back and watch the first one. It is really heavy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on in that one. It is sad.
It's kind of just like a romantic comedy disguised.
One of my favorite scenes in Rocky that has so much heaviness with so few words is when he comes back to his apartment early in the movie. And he's joking around. He's trying to make himself laugh. And then he looks in the mirror. He's looking at himself. And then he looks at a picture of him when he was younger. And he looks at the picture and he looks at him and his face is busted up. And you can just tell he's like, what am I doing?
It's the self-doubt, the imposter syndrome is so important. Like at the beginning when his manager comes back and kind of like begs to represent him, and he lets it all out. It's like, you abandoned me, and then he walks away, and then he's like, shit, and he follows him. That scene is iconic. I don't know if you know, because you know movies, but the scene near the end where he's preparing for the event and he's going to the stage there.
With the shorts?
With the shorts, and the poster has the shorts, like the color's wrong. And that was actually an accident, the printing.
A real mistake,
A real mistake. And was it the janitor that was there?
It was the fight promoter.
The fight promoter. And he's like, hey, the shorts, the color's wrong. And the promoter turns to him like, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's just a beautiful moment that was added outside of the script. It's just like, let's use this opportunity to that says so much, these little moments.
It's a great part of filmmaking is, the happy accidents.
Happy accidents. Oh, yeah. We can talk a lot about those. There's a lot.
Do you feel like you have a 3?
I think so.
Come to mind.
Rocky is. I think Rocky would be one of them.
Nice, yeah.
Because I used to do some professional boxing when I was a kid. And that holds, it's close to my heart. That movie is like every athlete would watch that movie in 79 or 77, 76. And they were like, I want to be that person, listen to the soundtrack. And Rocky, because it's more than just, it's not even a sports movie. It's something. It's about Rocky.
It's about going the distance, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't win.
No. But he wins the moral victory.
Yeah, because it's about, you can apply it to any-day life. It's like he tried his hardest.
Yeah.
And that's how he won.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't win, but he ended up with everything in that.
And the whole tone of the movie, it's just really bleak and sad, and I like that. That will bring me to like what I kind of like. I have sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
I have a I'm not here to shit on genres or stuff like that. I think they're all good for what they are. I could say, because I'm not that person. It's like, ooh, that's a bad movie. It's like, shut up. No one cares what you have to say.
We watch movies for the love of it, not for the hate of it.
There's nothing bad with movies. Some people like horror movies. Some people like American horror. Like it's good for what it is. I could say what my preference is, what my go-to is, and that's a responsible, humble way to talk. And I'm attracted to people who talk like that. I like relatable dramas.
Yeah.
Present day, older cast. We need more older representation. And things that are very bleak and sad, that necessarily don't have a closure. I like when you finish watching something and you feel like you want to throw up or cry because it's just been ripped out of your chest, and like the world is so dark. I don't know if I want to go out today. I like movies like that.
Yeah. You like the tugging at the heartstrings.
But not like super cheesy, but just like one that I saw recently again, Philomena. I don't know if you know that one, but it's wow, there's so much good stuff there. There's just a lot of dramas with an older cast, relatable stories. And every once in a while, I'm going to watch like a comedy. Comedy is fun. Comedy is amazing,
Can be very uplifting.
Things I have a hard time with, though, is violence. I do like certain violent movies, but, like I said to you earlier, it's not that it triggers me, but I've lived a life of extreme violence when I was younger, and I have a hard time with that now. I think it's not that it's sensationalized, but it's just a little silly.
You see, like behind
there's a cost.
curtain.
There's a cost of that violence, and when you live through that, you're just like, you stop playing in the sandbox, boys. It's enough. You can tell a better story. You can include violence, absolutely, but it's not well done. But certain films with violence, like I said, The Matrix, stylized violence, beautiful, artistic, choreographed. That is art.
Yeah, it's not exactly realistic, right? So that's why it can be appealing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. So movies about that.
What do you feel best represents sort of the old tug your heartstrings emo kind of film?
I feel like
Cold Mountain really got to me.
Oh, really?
And the other one, Atonement, really got to me. Again, they're based in the past, but they have some good arcs there, some good conflict. For a comedy, I would say as good as it gets. Okay. 1997, Jack Nicholson, Helen Hunt.
Yeah, that's an older cast.
But it's just there's so much going on there that is unexpected throughout the whole movie. It's funny, it's silly, it's relatable. He's a curmudgeon just like me. It's great.
We should put some of those on the list.
Yeah.
One of the things that I loved about having our DVD collection on the wall was having like a visual reference of all our favorite movies. So I understand like putting you on the spot, it might be hard to think of that. Yeah. Like right off the top of your head. But
I miss physical media. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's so many movies. Like I watch a lot of indie stuff now. It's coming out, and you're just like, whoa.
There's a lot of great indie stuff. I think we're in the golden era of indie stuff because it's so accessible.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to buy like film level quality digital cameras at a prosumer rate.
And it's difficult because, it's not, you don't want it to get oversaturated. Like Amazon Prime for a while had like all sorts of stuff, and they had to like start a bit of gatekeeping and stuff. And I understand that, because everything was on there and no one was getting watched because there was so much stuff on there. Right. It's a tough juggling act.
So the movies that you tend to like, would you say that those influence the movies that you desire to make or even to work on other people's movies? If you help out on someone else's Kino film, are there some that draw you in more genre-wise, writing-wise than others?
So that's a good question, because I'm just thinking about this now, and you're bringing stuff to me that I'm reflecting on. I separate those two. They're not the same. Me watching a movie, it's not the same as me wanting to make movies. They're completely separate. Yeah. I turn that filmmaker brain off and I suspended disbelief, and I just enjoy like the silliness and everything of it. It doesn't intrude on my viewing of the movie or shows now. Things are series and shows. Movies are slowly becoming a thing of the past. I make movies for different reasons, not to emulate the movies I like to see. Like I started making series every once in a while called Conversations with Myself, and I'm at episode 40 now, because I'm just going to release 40. And it's all this artsy-fartsy, abstract visual poetry. I'm trying to convey emotion and mood. Yeah. And I haven't seen anything like that. I'm not saying I'm a pioneer. I'm just like, I make the films I want to see.
That's really important,
that's
I think.
The thing. And do you find a level of healing through making those films? Does it feel like it helps the soul to get some of that out and into art?
I want to be there. I'm not there yet. And that's why I think it's not my medium.
Yeah.
That's understandable.
That's fair.
With writing, it's a lot more the onus is on the audience to interpret what it means and relate it to them. Whereas with the filmmaker, it's more from the filmmaker's perspective.
And that's what I love about a lot of the artsy-fartsy films that I make. It's that it's open to the audience. And a lot of people say, well, is this what you intended? And I'm like, well, let me ask you a question. How did it make you feel first, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. It can be a good way to look at that. David Lynch is famously like that. He makes weird movies, and he's like, it doesn't matter what you think it is. Like, it's just whatever you want it to be.
Also admitted on camera, he has no idea what he's doing. He doesn't give a shit. I love that.
Yeah.
There's an emotional truth to what he's trying to say.
Totally.
He doesn't know exactly how he's getting there.
He's got a good attitude.
That's enough for me. That's enough for me.
Yeah.
I admire that.
It's just nice to just, make stuff.
Yeah.
So when it comes to filmmaking, like you do make these shorts. What do you consider yourself in the filmmaking landscape? Do you consider yourself an actor, director, writer, storyteller, just blanket statement?
I think so. Because after a while, you can get the technical part of it. And although there's a lot of creative strength in like editing, you can retell a story. There's a lot of creative elements in all the other parts of filmmaking. I think at its core, it's storytelling. And it's not just a script I'm talking about. It's like storytelling is part of the editing, how you structure it, how you flow, how you pace it, the tones, how you interact with the actors, how you make people feel comfortable and come out of their shells. There's a lot to it. I think a storyteller, it's an old school term, and I think that's exactly what I am.
That's a good way to put it. Just even the art of making it, it doesn't matter necessarily who sees it. It's just enough that you've made something and you've collaborated with people and you've had that lovely interaction and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I've made some wonderful friends. Like the community is amazing. I get to associate with people that I normally would never talk to, or they would never talk to me. It's the imposter syndrome. It never goes away. That's for another conversation.
Oh, but we can all relate to that.
I get invited into people's homes that I would never get invited to. I mean, look at me. They think I would rob them. To be fair, I do rob them. But after that, we bond. And I return.
I gave you the coffee of my own volition. It's not robbing, okay?
Yeah. That's a nice thing about the Kino crowd is it's so diverse in like ages, races, sexual orientations. It's just a melting pot of everyone.
Absolutely. It's a safe place for anyone to express themselves and start their journey to empower themselves. It's really important. That is primarily what I try to protect, because I created like 3 little words as a tagline to Kino, and it's encourage, nurture, and protect. That's very important.
Yeah, it's apparent to me that you're a very people-focused person. How does that translate to running a set and directing a set, working with actors and working with other filmmakers? Do you have a certain approach that you bring to that, a certain mantra?
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about problem solving, and people. Not a lot of people are built to be directors. I've been on a lot of sets, and it's just people, God love them. They need work to interact and deal with people. I mean, there was one set recently, and my friend told me they were on his set, and for years he's consistently awful to his actors and the people around him, and it's just such an ego, this kid. And I'm just like, oh, jeez, it never ends. My responsibility, what I like to, because I'm able to pay attention to everything at once. You don't start off being able to direct everything at once, but you can get to a point where you're there and you pay attention to everything at once. And why not do everything at once? But it's not for everyone. It's about the energy and the comfort level on set. I mean, as a director, you're responsible not only for the actors, but the crew as well. And there's a certain energy that you have to maintain. So you can't go too technical and obsess over a specific shot and not communicate with the actors what's going on, because there's a creative energy that is lost within the actors and the filmmakers. So you can't be too consumed with what's happening behind the camera. You have to juggle both. I mean, you're asking an actor to be vulnerable and convey something really emotional, and yet you're not communicating with them. You're not making them feel good, and you're taking 40 takes. I mean, what are you doing? Like, get your shit together before you ask them, and don't waste their time. Don't waste people's times. Be competent. Learn. Allow yourself to be competent. If you're not there yet, don't take on a 20 crew set.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But you're responsible for everything all at once. And it's that's the high. That's the fun. You know, you can't please everyone, but a lot of people can do better. They could, if they stop and they like, listen, I'm a little self-indulged and impatient, and maybe I need to step back from this and approach it differently.
Yeah. Very well said. Yeah. We've talked about you directing a set. How does that translate to being on other people's sets? You know, do you have a certain attitude that you go on if you're acting or just helping out on someone else's set?
That's where, you know, I'm a good second in command, you know, and I've known a lot of people who have artistically collaborated, and it rarely works. I mean, because there's two creative egos and ideas and concepts, and everything is different, and eventually it's going to clash. I mean, stop trying, you know? I mean, have a clear person who's in charge, you know, and that always works at the end. You just like consider the other person's opinion and their view, but at the end of the day, you know, you're going to do what's best for the film and your idea, what you want. It's your film, but you can take turns. Say, collaborating with someone. Listen, I'm going to do this one. You're going to help me out, but then I'm going to do yours, and I'm going to help you out. You know, I mean, I said that wrong.
I think that's a good attitude to have.
Yeah. I've because of experience, because I know people. And it seems romantic at first. We're going to start this thing together. But everyone grows apart. Like musicians and bands, it's like historic. It always breaks apart. The Beatles broke apart. Everyone breaks apart. Just
except the Rolling Stones.
Have roles. But they're never sober. So I'm a good second in command because I just happen to be there. It's the process, you know, not to get bleak, but at the end of the day, what's the point in being so stuck on your vision and your ego if it just drives a wedge between you and the relationships in your life? You have accomplished nothing. Inevitably, we all die angry, alone, and afraid.
Oh my goodness.
So what's the point of anything? Anything.
You know, you got to have fun with it.
Yeah, you got to have fun with it.
People are volunteering their time to come on your set. You should make it worthwhile. And like, to me, it's less about the final product, and it's equally as much about having fun on set, enjoying the company of others, enjoying the process, feeling creative.
It's a fine balance because I've seen two variations of it. Either people are too like strictly focused on what's going on and they're not pleasant, or they're completely unfocused and it takes away the confidence in the set.
Happy medium.
You can have the happy medium. You can be pleasant and professional. Why not?
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, that was
an important attitude.
We were helped by the streamlined nature of shooting in one spot that like everyone day after day knew what was going on. It was my dad's basement.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Everyone like knew what the setups were going to be and like generally what the coverage was going to be. But then that said, eventually it got very stale because at a certain point in the shoot, I was waking up thinking like, I'm not excited to go on set.
Because it was the same shots.
Is this because I'm not meant to be a filmmaker or a director? Like, is this not what I'm meant to do? And then I'm like, oh, it's because we're shooting in the same spot, doing the exact same shots and coverage day after day. I'm wearing the same clothes every day because I play the waiter, so I have to be wearing the same thing. It just feels like endless cycles.
It's the tedium and boredom of making a feature film because you're over it. You want to tell a different story. Yeah. You examined it for too long.
Next project is going to be in more than one set.
You can do like a feature. Two. It's a collection of short films and you stitch them together. So it's always new and exciting.
Yeah.
12 Tales.
That's true. Yeah.
Coming up.
Yes.
Looking forward to that. Certainly. So wrapping up on our conversation here, what's next on the horizon for you? You're pushing ahead on more kinos, on more writing. You know, what's exciting you that's coming up in the future?
Always the kinos. Always getting people together, especially encouraging of new people. There's so many not nude. New
Unfortunately,
people. Yeah, because my friend always corrects me. You know, Mark Parks, he's like, nude people. I'm like.
Well, some of the films are pretty out there.
Yeah, they're pretty out there. The only rule we have at Kino is no penetrative sex.
That's for a different film.
That's for a different film festival. Yeah. I don't know. Just doing the Kino, encouraging new people to come in, getting to meet new people.
Yeah.
Like everything, and not to go off on a different tangent here, but it's with having a lot of people in a community is it's welcoming and opening to all sorts of people, and sometimes you inadvertently let certain toxic people into your life, and everyone wants to be your friend, and by association it hurts, and there's people that take more than they give. They take a lot, and there's been a lot of drama and controversy in the groups, like all groups. I'm not going to go into it, but it's the nature of it. It's a constant battle. It's learning about yourself, learning to say no.
Yeah,
learning to have boundaries and say, this is not good. So we're going to pull away from this.
That's totally fair.
Yeah, like all communities, but also staying open to encouraging new people to come in and express themselves. Going back to the question that was asked of me, God, Vince.
Well, I wish you the best of luck in working through that because it's it's a hard thing.
You learn techniques because everything is people. It's problem solving and people. That is filmmaking. Writing. I'm getting back into the writing. Yeah, this week I started on the novella, which was originally like a feature film, but I'm like, hey, it's storytelling. It makes me happy. And pursuing the series of children's books that I'm doing. Like I released a children's book, the first in an ongoing series.
What's the title?
4 months ago. It's called The Mortimer Pickens, and it's a series of a 10-year-old boy. And he's, it's interesting. It's in a nutshell, it's meant for the parent to read with their child, and it's substantial themes that, children have questions sometimes, and we underestimate them, but they don't quite know how to formulate the words to say what these questions are, but they do. Even at the age of 10, there's some, so let's examine that and have a conversation about it, so that's what I like about it. Mortimer Pickens.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Awesome.
So just getting back into that.
Yeah. So Vincent, where can people connect and find more info about Kino, and where can they find some of the projects that you've worked on online and see some of your stuff?
I think just Vincent Valentino on YouTube. And again, Facebook. I should have a presence on Instagram. I'm just lazy. I don't know. I need someone to help me with that.
Instagram feels like a slog
follow
sometimes.
Through.
Yeah.
But it's like
just screenshots of your short films. That's it.
I know. I'm just so lazy. No, Instagram is definitely very crucial and important, and TikToks and stuff like that, and socials. But it's pretty much Facebook. There's some sort of informal community hub of filmmaking in Ottawa, and that seems to be on Facebook. And it's a group called Ottawa Filmmakers.
Yeah. Which I'll be posting this episode to. So thank you very much, Vincent, for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on, and looking forward to having more conversations with you off mic. Yeah.
What's next for you and you?
What's next for us?
Lots of different things.
In all honesty, is taking a break from the podcast.
Yeah.
Because it's starting to fill our schedule in a way that we would like to devote resources to other things.
I get that. 100%.
Absolutely.
Hannah is doing a bit of writing. I'm also doing a bit of writing.
Is it going to be like another dialogue character-driven movie?
Probably not.
Oh.
Gonna go in a different direction.
A little more visual.
I lean more towards the Steven Spielberg side of filmmaking, where it's like you look at someone like Quentin Tarantino, and all his movies are like violent
feet fetishes.
Foot movies and violent crime dramas.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg has made,
all over
like
the place.
Adventure films, drama films, romantic films. I'm like, I want to play. I want to experiment. I want to do other stuff.
Because that's life. Life is all genres.
Yeah, definitely.
Why limit yourself to
absolutely
something?
Life in 5 minutes you could cry, laugh, and cry again. Why not? Laugh at our pain. So what are you writing?
What am I writing? Okay, well,
are you sure you want to give it away?
Oh no, don't give it away. I'm sorry, you don't have to.
I'll tell you off mic.
Okay. Yeah. I can tell you a bit more about mine.
Yeah.
As well. So, well, again, right on. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.